I believe planning theory provides a base for a planner's intuition. Intuition is defined as cognition without evident rational thought. A planner's actions may seem to be independent, but they are generally an adapted version of some planning theory, or an amalgamation of various aspects of different theories. This intuition is how a planner approaches their work in planning practice. I define planning practice not only as the various professions related to spatial management, but also as professions which involve any aspect of policies, critical thinking, and skills needed for managing spatial needs of the people. By my definition, it is clear that planning practice includes professions such as that of the traditional planner, but also professions like the role of the planner as a mediator, an advocate, etc. Planning practice also involves professionals who cannot be called planners in the traditional sense. They are oftentimes not trained in the field of planning. They could be community leaders, economic specialists, engineers, architects, urban designs, data scientists, or even politicians whose job falls within the planning practice in some degree. Planners trained in the field of planning have a different skill set than the other professionals who have their own unique skill sets. A planner's skill sets, among other things, is based on their training, which includes planning theory. This is my key point that planners, especially formally trained planners, use planning theory to hone their intuition, which in turn reflects their actions and methods. My primary justification for my thesis is based on my own experience working this past year at the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission, or CCRPC, along with an informal discussion with Ashley McLaughlin, an experienced planner working there. The project I analyzed to understand my claim was the 2045 update of the county's LRTP. After talking to Ashley about the project, I realized the following points. The agency dubbed the type of planning approach they had as a mix of transactive planning and incremental planning, but I felt that it was primarily based on rational planning model. Traditions play a huge role in planning practice. The first LRTP made at CCRPC was for the year 2030 and was made in 1999. Some methods and parameters used then have been carried forward till today. This tradition gives rise to the incremental aspect of planning approach. The goals of the LRTP have changed through the subsequent years, and the agency aims to review and perhaps change any major changes they propose every 5 years. The public engagement segment of the plan has transactive qualities in it, but the process cannot be called transactive planning, mostly because the planner clearly works for the government and not as a transactive agent. Although on the surface the approach seems transactive, in reality several alternatives have been pre-proposed, and the public's opinion just helps them choose the best alternative. This leads me to believe that it is an adapted version of rational planning. I was able to make out the difference using the theory of planning I learnt in class. This let me determine the actual level of citizen participation, the goals, and the values of the agency. A common counter-argument to my thesis can be to claim that if a planner does not pursue a planning model exactly, it can be said that he is not following planning theory. Planning theory is more than learning what the different planning models are. I believe planning theory is incorporating the pros and the cons of various approaches and the key takeaways learned through the models and then applying them to planning practice. With formal training, these takeaways can become ingrained in a planner's approach so that he or she may subconsciously be utilizing them without knowing it. I would like to conclude by saying that I believe formal teaching of planning theory shapes a planner, but at the same time, many planning practitioners exist who have not had this training and yet they excel in their field. I believe that future planning practitioners who are being trained should be taught that planning models should not be studied as set approaches out of which one approach must be chosen to implement. Rather, their consequences, which can be both negative and positive, should be taught, and best practices should be evolved from these actions.